ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk a little bit about Ruth, the Book of Ruth. It's a good book. It's a very short book. Yeah. So what we're going to do is talk more, focus on Naomi. Okay. Naomi is the nucleus of the why of Titus 2 and 4, which is written. So let's go there. Titus 2 says, 4, that they may teach the younger, and they meaning the older women, teach the younger women to what? Be sober, to love their husbands, and to love their children. Which, if you read this, you have to ask the question, why would a woman not love their children? Why would a woman not love their husbands, and why are they drunk all the time?
Why wouldn't they?
It's Naomi, honestly, who is the nucleus of the Book of Ruth, which is also the nucleus of where this comes from. To teach the woman, the younger women, to love their husbands and wives. Because Naomi, being who she was, you realize at the end of the teaching that she never had any implication of love in her, what she did, at all. Now, let's continue on. The Book of Ruth also was written before the first king of Israel, which is the first king, which is Saul. So that's the timeline into it. And we're going to also learn a little bit how taking God's blessing that turned into pain just to bless God's purpose.
Purpose of God.
Yeah, that too.
Okay.
Grammatically correct, which I am not. All right, and we're going to learn how the feeling of life, good and bad. And then we'll jump into strategic preparations for the future. And we'll do planning with what you got. All of this is what Naomi had brought to us. Am I that warm? All right, let's go into Ruth chapter 1. All right, so once you get that, go ahead and read that for me.
In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, his wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. All
right, so let me draw a picture of the reality of the time and the story itself. If you look in chapter 2 real fast, it'll tell you that this man is a kindred or relative of Boaz, or the wealth family. The family was very wealthy. So when you're wealthy, you have to understand wealthy people do things a little different. Like, for example, if there's a famine in town, they just don't deal with it. What do? He leave town. So in context, what did he do? He bought land in Moab and then got some servants and started raising it, took his whole family, and we went over there. Okay, but here's the question. Who is Naomi? Naomi, by the other hand, is not rich. Naomi didn't come from money. The husband did. The kindred of Boaz is the relative of the husband, but the wife is not rich. She comes from a status, of course, but she is not rich, and so she's just going along. Her objective was simply to be with this man and then have a couple of kids and go from there. So Ruth 2 is that one. Now, all right, so there was a famine in the land, and there was a certain man. This man, in context, was a normal man, not the ordinary. He was in Proverbs 31. They talk about the husband is known in the gates. So he's the kind of guy, he's just known in the gates. And when he went into the Moab, he went there just simply to there. Now, keep in mind, when he went here, he didn't think that he was going to stay there. He really didn't think he was going to die there. So in context, he did die, and then all of a sudden, in verse 3, what does it say?
And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons.
Okay, now, if I'm a woman, which I'm not, a woman of survival, what am I doing? Think about it. Her husband dies, she's not of wealth, so she doesn't go back home. She has to stay where she is, and she's got 2 kids. Now, rich people, as you already know, some rich people do not cross cultures. Whites do it, blacks do it, Spanish do it, doesn't matter, the culture, when you get to that level, you just want to stay within the family, right? So it's funny how the husband had to die, and then verse 4, what happened?
They took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orphan, and the name of the other Ruth.
Alright, so the boys at this moment took wives. Why did he wait? Why did they wait till he died? It's because now, think about it, Naomi has a business, has the land, has property, has responsibilities, has 2 sons, but at the end of the day, she's not wealthy, but she's responsible now, and she's not a leader because she's a woman. So she has to take that next level, that next step, and she uses her 2 kids and marries them off to a couple of people in Moab. So the 2 ladies, keep in mind, Ruth and who's the other one? All right. There were ladies in the Moab area when they had substance too. Their family was of a certain status, because after all, why would you get somebody at the same level of servants? So Ruth and her by herself, and the other one,
Careful. Yeah, I know what he's doing.
okay. So they had a status, and now the wife, Naomi took the 2 boys and married them off. Now, in verse 4, how long did they stay there?
10 years.
10 years.
Wow. So they were married to the women for 10 years.
10 years, correct. Now, Naomi is really struggling. Now she has 2 girls, and she herself is old, and now she has to go back home. Her saving grace is that her husband was known in the gates, and when she goes back, she can probably save herself. But there is no way she can save the 2 women because they're from Moab. They just don't mix. It's like saying, hey, let's have a black family, have a white person, and that kind of sticky there. All right. So she arose in her daughter-in-laws, and they might return to the country of Moab. Somebody continue reading verse 6.
For she had heard in the country of Moab how the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread.
Right. Wherefore, can you continue on?
Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept.
All right, so in this context, we know that the scenery, she just can't take them back home. So go back home. And again, these ladies have a family, and the family's not poor, they're just going back home. And after all, they still wouldn't be problematic, except for the fact that they actually married outside their culture, which that's sometimes worse when you go back home. What man's going to want me, right? Because I've slept with this kind of culture kind of person. Which also brings another question. Out of 10 years of a relationship, why did they not have kids? At least one of them could have had a child. Come on.
And there was no birth control back then.
There really was no birth control back then. In fact, they needed kids to continue on the generation, especially for Noah. Her intentions was to simply stay there and start a new line of genealogy there.
Or the boys stayed or something.
It doesn't say anything, so you just have to assume that they were, I don't know, infertile or something.
But both of them?
Yeah, not the women, not the women.
No, not necessarily the women. It could be the guy
Yeah.
who was working hard in the field and just too tired to produce, but then it could be the women. At the end of the day, the power of God is there. If God can get an old woman like Sarah pregnant, come on, God can get 2 women, at least one of them out of the 2 to get pregnant. But God didn't see fit for 10 years for them to get pregnant.
So he just did it.
He just let it be what it's going to be. Because again, what is the purpose? What's God's purpose? Right? All right, so 10 years later, Naomi's now sending them out into the place. Let me go into my notes here. Yes, that's good. Good. We're good there. All right, so. All right, so in verse 10, so it's right there.
And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband as tonight, and should also bear sons, will ye tarry for them till they are grown? Will ye stay from them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me.
All right, so let's pause right there. So even in this context, Naomi coming from, let's say she comes from nothing, she some kind of way got to a position to get with a rich man. She's with the rich man, and then she comes with 2 kids and goes into another place, start a new life because the old place had a famine. And now she's got, because the husband died, got 2 new girls, no producing of babies. Think about who she is and where she comes from, that journey. If she comes from nothing, and then all of a sudden she got a lot of something, and then now she's got nothing, she is really low emotionally in her life. She's old, has nothing to show for it, husband's died, sons died, she is just like zeroed out and got 2 girls from a different country. That's not good, especially to go home with. Alright, so let's see here, and they lifted up their voices, go back to the people. Where do we stop off at? 14. Let's jump to 16.
Anybody else read?
And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest I will go, and where thou lodgest I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God.
Now keep in mind, again, her whole purpose is it's not like she couldn't go back home. And her reason of not going back home is just simply, your Lord is my Lord, and your people is my people. Which is awesome. Okay, continue on.
Where thou diest, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught be the death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So they 2 went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass that when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them, and they said, Is this Naomi?
All right, pause right there. So it is very funny also, just keep this in mind, when you're working this plan out, no, I'm not saying you guys, I'm just talking for the recording, that when these ladies back in these times were working things out, how the whole community is watching you. You think you're doing something in the privacy of your own home, but in actuality, no. Yeah, no. Somebody is talking to someone about you and everything's going on, and they're way out there. Now, they also realize that the husbands died, the sons died, so the community has a little sympathetic towards her, but she still has to play a certain role. Meaning, she's still a visitor. She married into the family. She's not part of the family. So, what did she say? Continue on reading from there.
And she said unto them, Call me not Naomi, call me Mara.
Which is a god, if you will, a god of sorrowness and bitterness. Okay.
For the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me, and I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi? See, the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me. So Naomi returned, and Ruth and Moabites, and her daughter-in-law with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of Bagley's harvest.
All right, so,
Barley harvest, sorry.
yes. So we know the season, we know the circumstances. She had to humble herself back down to the community, calling herself bitterness, not boastfulness. She's very humble in her presenting herself. Because keep in mind, she's an outsider inside, and she's only related to the husband point of view. So the community still accepts her because she is a widow, and by culture, the widow, the community will take care of the widow. The catch, the cue is Ruth. Even in the writing, it's very clear they're not classifying her as nothing else except Ruth the
Moabite.
Yeah, she ain't one of us, guys. Just want you to know she's still Ruth the Moabite. Yeah, okay. So that's chapter 1. Now, in context, how is Naomi playing a part in this? Well, really, she's not being known yet. But behind her, she's the old woman now. And now she has a Moabite, Ruth. And how does she take Ruth, this Moabite, and interject her into the culture? That's when we get strategic going on here. All right, so.
This is my favorite story more than anything because she's a very smart, cunning old lady, and most people go like, no, she didn't mean that.
She was ruthless.
Yeah, I know.
That girl was straight ruthless. She got what she wanted, and she did what she needed to do. And it will show itself through chapter 2 very quick. All right, so number 2, first verse. Somebody read that for me, please. Go ahead.
And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz.
All right, here's the first thing you should automatically pop out in you. Naomi has a kinsman, and the key, the mark, who we going to focus on, who we going to get? Boaz. Naomi has it already planned out. We ain't playing around with nobody else. We got to focus, we got to mark, we got this guy, we're going to focus on him for Ruth. So, he's a kinsman. Now keep in mind, where's that word, kinsman? All right, watch that word, keep going.
And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace.
All right, now, what is her intentions?
Seduce.
Seduction, absolutely seduction. Not just to get the corn. She doesn't need to tear and do no corn. Naomi's got people. People will take care of her. She's getting ready to seduce who? Boaz. So it's already started. Where did Ruth know about this word seduction? Even though it doesn't say it, but you have to feel it. Ruth has already got her eye on something. Boaz. All right, so let's continue.
And she said unto her, go, my daughter.
Who is she say?
Naomi said to Ruth.
Blessed it. Go, do your thing. All right, continue.
And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And her hap was to light on the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech.
Elimelech was the husband who passed away, correct. So direct relations, probably a nephew or something. All right, go ahead.
And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you.
That's nice. Let's continue. Whose damsel is this? Verse 6.
Yes, I just heard what he said. And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab.
Even the servant knows the story. Okay, go on.
And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, and that she tarried a little in the house.
All right, so the servant guy, head guy, talked to her apparently. Apparently he liked her too, and said, go ahead and do your thing. She must have been very beautiful then. Very beautiful for this to happen. Okay, go ahead.
Then said Boaz unto Ruth, Hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee?
What? Why is Boaz doing this?
Because he already likes it.
He likes her too. But Boaz is the one with power. The trick of a woman is this. The power, I should say, not trick, because it is not a trick, it's simply power. The power of a woman is she can make a man feel like he's in control. In actuality, he never was in control. In this scripture here, we read that Boaz is talking to the manservant, right? And then the manservant tells the story to him, Boaz, and then Boaz talks to the girl, Ruth, and he says to her, gives her favor. Don't do this, do this. But all of that whole circumstance, that whole situation would have never started if Ruth didn't say, I need to go out to the field in seduction. So when she went out in the field for seduction, the first thing she got was the head guy. He's the head guy, cool, but he's only the doorman. So she needs to do and get to the next level, Boaz, because Boaz is what? Rich.
Yeah.
Okay, continue on.
So not touch thee. And when thou art athirst, go into the vessels, and drink of that which the young men have drawn.
All right, so are you jumping
Now verse 10.
Yeah, go to 11, go to 11.
11. Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been shewed me that all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother in the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore.
Okay.
The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thine handmaidens.
So in other words, what is she doing here? What is she doing?
She seducing.
That's a good word. She's
Cause
seducing.
she's like, I'm not like other women, basically.
Right.
You'll never find nobody like me.
Thank you for choosing me. I thank you very much for choosing me. Thank you for allowing me to hang around women who are not even my women, my people. Thank you for allowing
She's
this.
boosting his ego because he's saying,
She's
hey,
boosting his
if I
ego,
flatter-
right?
Like,
She's
before that, it seems like he's like suspicious of her.
He is.
Not?
He is very suspicious because after all,
okay,
she
I
is a
see.
woman that is not of me. She comes from a different culture. She comes from a different God. And this is why everyone is watching her.
Okay.
So
You
she's-
notice how everyone is knowing her story.
Yeah.
She flatters him.
Right. Okay, so let's continue on. And Boaz 14.
And Boaz said unto her, At mealtime come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed, and left.
All right, now, here's a key in business. Why is he saying, come to me and eat with me?
Wants to get to know her more.
Absolutely. In business, they do the same thing. When you have a person that you really like through the interviewing process and it's at a certain level, they'll say, hey, let's go have lunch, let's go have dinner.
Yeah.
They don't do that just because they're hungry. They want to see, do you have the discipline to handle yourself in the environment of eating? Do you know etiquette? Do you know how to dress for the occasion? Do you know how to sit? Do you know how to do all these things? Because behind the resume is your discipline. And that discipline will tell me if you can understand that craft, you're more likely to understand the bigger picture of your character. And that's what he was doing with her. Watching her, seeing how her character was. What made her good was she had 10 years with Naomi. 10 years of eating with Naomi, 10 years of studying Naomi, 10 years of a lot of things with Naomi. So she went from one culture to the next culture, and she knows how they eat, how they talk, how they dress, how they do everything. Because Naomi, after all, trained her for the sons. Now, she's in the presence of Boaz and the people. What else? All right, continue on.
And when, verse 15?
Yeah.
And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not.
Now, this is the second time he said that.
Because you don't want no one else.
You don't want nobody else to touch her.
Yeah.
He's making sure nobody's going after this girl. All right, so that's the second time he said. Go ahead, continue on.
And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not.
Okay, now, and she took it up and went to the city. The mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave her, verse 19, let's start there. Somebody else read that.
And her mother-in-law said unto her, where hast thou gleaned today? And where croftest thou?
Right?
Blessed be.
Sorry.
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 Oh no!
Oh,
Okay.
way up there. Here we go.
Okay. So, I have no idea where I'm at.
Where thou hast gleaned today, and
What
where
verse is that?
broughtest thou blessed? 19.
19, here we go.
Oh dear. Okay, wait. Okay, blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee, and she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, the man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz.
All right, so Mama's like, what's up, girl? Where you bringing all this stuff from? Who gave you all this?
Yeah, so what she brought, it was about 30 pounds of grain.
30 pounds of stuff, right? And okay, who's giving you this favor, right? Who's giving you this, right? Which is no different in today's time, right? Girls,
Yeah.
whatever, all right? So they're showing off, and now Naomi says, now Naomi knows it's Boaz. Okay. Now, what does it say in verse 20?
And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead.
All right, so in other words, she's like, thank God, he's still who he is. He learned from his people, right? His character, he's still a good character. And in that good character, I can manipulate him. All right, go ahead.
And Naomi said unto her, the man is near of kin unto us, one of our
All right,
kinsmen.
who is speaking?
Naomi.
Naomi is reminding Ruth that what? Boaz is
The closest relative that they have.
the closest relative that we have. Okay, so she's like strategically thinking all this process, and go on, go ahead.
And Ruth, the Moabite, said, he said unto me also, thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest.
All right, so she's letting him know how serious Boaz is onto her. Okay, so Naomi is like hearing all this, liking all this. Now, what is verse 22?
You want to read that?
Yeah, go ahead and read that.
And Naomi said unto Ruth her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz, to glean unto the end of barley harvest and wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law.
All right, so the key is it's now set up. It is a setup. Naomi hearing all of this, noticing all this, hearing what Boaz says, and then all of a sudden tells her, confirms what Boaz says, don't do nothing. Just stay right there, do exactly what he said. Just stay there. And they actually stayed there for a little while.
Yeah, that barley harvest is at the beginning of summer, wheat harvest is at the end, it's pretty much fall, so
Right.
that was a whole season.
That's a whole season she's there, and the whole season that she's hanging out with Boaz and liking him and getting to know her, and she's getting to know him, which she really don't care. She just wants the stuff, quite honestly. Verse 3. Now, here we get to the juicy part.
The juicy.
Strategic, I love strategic women. Yeah, go ahead.
Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well within thee?
All right, she's letting her know, I'm about to give you away.
And now is not Boaz of our kindred,
She's right.
with
She's
those
setting
whose
it up
maiden thou wast?
for this whole season.
Behold, the winnoweth barley tonight is the threshing floor.
All right, what is a winnowed barley night in the threshing hole? It's a party. It's a get together. It's a celebration of a good harvest, and they getting together to celebrate the good harvest. And it's like a ritual, if you will, unto the Lord. and
Can I
so
read
on.
it from the New International
Yeah, girl, go
Version?
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, I think it's much clearer. One day Ruth's mother-in-law, Naomi, said to her, My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be provided for.
Yes.
Now Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours.
Hmm?
Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor.
Yeah.
Next.
So, right, okay. So what are we looking at here? Are we looking at love?
No, we're looking at business transactions.
Thank
Let's
you.
do this.
Thank you. Has any emotion got into this other than I'm going to hook you up so you can get you a husband?
A, B, or
The
C.
emotion gets in the way. Let's do this.
It does get in the way. It does get in the way.
I'm rooting her on. Let's go, girl.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. If Naomi wasn't as ruthless as she is, we would not have a Book of Ruth.
Yeah.
Right? She is now the nucleus of everything we know. In fact, it is so powerful of what Naomi did that when Ruth and Boaz finally got together, it is the grandfather of David.
Right.
So there wouldn't be a grandfather of David, there wouldn't be a David if it wasn't for Naomi's ruthless and strategic planning of how to get a rich
I
man.
think it's ruthless. I think it's just.
It's ruthless.
It's true.
It's ruthless. It's ruthless. As a man, is it not ruthless to hear
I'm
this?
sorry, it was men's world back then. She did what she needed to do.
And that's my point. Men think we're in control. A smart woman, a strategic woman will always win over a man. All right, so let's continue on. So now she's at this party. What is Naomi saying to Ruth?
Okay, I'm going to read from here.
Yes, go ahead.
Wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. I'm on 3.
All right, what version are you in?
New International Version.
How do I go to...
You have to change your Bibles, but you don't have one downloaded, so you don't.
Okay, I can't do that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
So we'll just follow along.
I'm on 3.
3.
So wash, put on
Wash yourself.
perfume,
Anoint yourself, okay?
and get dressed in your best
Raiments, the
clothes.
clothes.
Then
Go down to the thing.
go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know you are there
Secretly, strategically.
until he has finished eating and drinking.
Getting drunk. Go ahead.
When he lays down,
When he goes in his bed.
know the place where he's lying. Then
How
go,
he's positioned
yeah.
in the bed. Go ahead.
Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do.
See? Boom. Boom. No.
This is literally an instruction manual, just so you know.
It is. Absolutely. Hence when I said in the very beginning, it is Naomi is the nucleus of Titus. How to love your husband and children. She used her 2 kids to get married to a non-culture people just so she can survive. But it didn't work out. They didn't have kids. They died, and now she has to come back. Now she has a baggage. How do I get rid of my baggage? I don't want to give her to something that I don't know. Trap? No. She only knows one thing. She knows how to get a rich man. Because who was her husband?
A rich man.
Thank you. She only can teach and tell Ruth what she knows how to do herself.
So hold, pay attention. Pay attention, because
Well, she said, Mom, do it first. No.
I can't.
I'm joking. All right. So go ahead. All right, so this is what happens, and now what happened? Continue on. Oh, wait.
5. I will do whatever you say, Ruth answered.
That's all she has to do. She's doing it.
So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night,
Go ahead.
something startled the man.
Right.
He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet.
So there's some arguments out there that saying she slept with Boaz, and no, she didn't sleep because it said it startled. No man's gonna get startled knowing there's a woman in my bed. Nah.
Well, she was at his. So okay.
Nah. She just uncovered the feet, and then she just laid there. Now, context, they say feet, but when you uncover the feet, what is exposed? It's genitals.
Okay.
She laid right there.
Okay.
It's not to say that they had
Yeah.
these
Intercourse.
yes, intercourse, but it still had relations. And that's the key. It's not to say that you had it all, it's just hint that you had it. A little bit of something. The oral side of it. And so that's what happened. So now what happened?
Logan, who are you? He asked. I am your servant Ruth.
Now, this is how drunk he is. He went a whole season knowing Ruth. And all of a sudden, he's looking at this woman at his feet, and it's like, who are you?
Right.
He's drunk as crazy.
I am your servant Ruth, she said. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family or our kinsman. The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor.
And this is why he said it twice, because rich and poor was going after her. All right, go ahead.
And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although
go ahead.
it is true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I.
All right, so he's now, in his mind, preparing to take care of her. Like, of course, there's some strategic things he's got to go through, older brother. So, and we know the story, right? The idea is strategic planning. When it comes to relations and when it comes to these things, women were always strategic. And it still is to this day, to a degree. They better themselves, they put makeup on, they get to find clothes. Like, for example, remember when you guys used to go dating? What did you do? Spend 20 hours trying to find the right clothes to go on the first date?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're doing the same thing she did. The only difference is Naomi had to make sure Ruth set up with the best candidate. She didn't have the romance of songs and books and movies, and she didn't have all of the characters of Disney World, and she didn't have the emotion aspect of love. It was all about survival for her. And it's just simply that. It's all about survival. We're not in a survival position anymore because we got plenty, right? But that's just the way it is. What happens when we do get in survival mode? This is the blueprint. Somebody think she said it's a blueprint of how to get rich men. But it is not as simple. You have to also, as a woman, you have to pay attention to yourself, how you act. How do you dress? How do you position yourself with whom? Because everyone is watching you. And when they watch you, they're making a judgment on you and saying she's a good girl or not. So anyway, that's pretty much that. Let me go into my other thing here. Just make sure I hit all my notes. Closing. Got you. Yes. So basically, Ruth came with the introduction, Ruth not leaving because of God. Naomi humbles herself and says, I am, the God hasn't blessed me. The mark being known, that's Boaz. She actually looked at him. The confirmation, he's giving me all this stuff. Okay, what are you doing? He said, don't do this, don't do it. Don't talk to nobody, don't go nowhere. The setup, go to him and lay by his feet. The closing, I'm going to marry you. Wow. Now, again, we can talk about this in a spiritual point of view, but here's the thing. Everything that happens is of God. So in context, think about it. Does not God bless strategicness in dating?
Of course.
Yeah.
You're dumb as a book. You're going to end with someone that's going to not be good for you.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. So this is an example of Ruth and Naomi. And let's go back to Titus, I think it was.
That's why I like.
These ladies are getting into a bad relationships nowadays because they're doing it totally opposite than what is supposed to have been done. You get a guy, you like him, and then all of a sudden you want to impress him, and then you want to quickly lay with him without watching him and watching her, and then let this watching process get there and go on, right? We got to take time. This is why in some cultures and some people will say, hey, we got to date for at least a year. I got to see this.
Daniel and I were friends for 10 years.
See?
And Boaz was a season.
He was a whole season.
He was a whole season.
And the only reason they kind of rushed it is because he was in his prime. He was ready for the plucking.
Yeah.
And also because they had no choice.
No, they had choice. They had a choice.
Who didn't have a choice?
But Boaz had a choice.
Ruth and...
Right, Boaz though.
Boaz never had a choice. Boaz, see, this is the thing. Boaz never had a choice because he was never in control.
No, I mean,
Ruth and
Naomi didn't have a choice, as in there was no one who was closer related to them, nor there was no one who was any...
I don't believe that. Because the head servant would have been a good candidate from a woman from Noah. Or Moab.
Yeah, but...
The perfect, no one would have said anything about that relationship.
In that time.
In that time, correct.
But it would go, you know, if she was following Naomi's God, or she was
Right.
following that practice, then it's not.
Right, right. And this is what I'm saying. It's not about getting a guy. It's getting the right guy. And the right guy is always wealthy.
Yeah.
You don't believe it? What is that movie? The prostitute with the rich guy? You know what I'm talking about.
Pretty woman.
How many women thought that's the way to go?
No. I mean, it's a good movie. Yeah.
It's a romantic movie. It's a thought of, hey, if I can do what she do, maybe I can get the outcome of what she got. And that's the key, the outcome.
Well, you have to have the intelligence and confidence.
You have to have that correct. And this is why Naomi is more important than Ruth herself.
But the man doesn't have to be wealthy.
He has to make do.
Yeah, of course, you don't want somebody who's broke.
Pardon?
You don't want to, like...
You don't want
Wait, I want to hear what she said.
You got potential. You got potential.
Say the first thing.
Yes.
You don't want to be with someone who's broke. I don't want to be the person who has to 100% be supporting everything. Like, it's a two people...
Yeah.
Be able to carry your weight, I'll carry my weight, we will carry our weight
Collectively,
together.
correct. Collectively
Right?
partnering.
It's not, hey,
Yes.
I am going to be your
Yes.
sugar mommy and support you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is today, believe it or not, because now it is almost uncommon for a guy to be an at-home dad.
It's not uncommon.
That's what I'm saying. It's getting to become a point where it's not uncommon.
Not-
Not uncommon. I'm sorry if I missaid that. Yes, it is almost to a point that's like, oh, okay, you're an at-home dad, fine. What? No. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Well,
Boaz. No.
okay, no, but here's the
No.
thing though. For example, I have one of my friends and he has, he has 2 young kids and like daycare is so expensive that if they had another kid, it would be cheaper for him to stay at home and take care of his kids than to work and pay for the care of those 3 kids.
Yes.
What do you say about a man who does that?
Good for you.
What?
Yeah.
No!
Do you know today's economy, how, it's not how it was back then.
It's actually worse back then. They had a famine.
Yeah, and famine plus taking care of kids.
2 kids, that's
No,
why
plus
she
taking care, no.
that's why she
plus
married a rich guy.
Paying. Famine, you're poor, paying for someone to take care of your
Famine,
kids.
you die unless you got money.
Okay.
Unless we can move from the famine and start over fresh.
But there wasn't a lot, even today, there's not a lot of wealthy people.
Oh yes.
There is.
Oh yes. In today's economy, you're part of the 1% if you have over $200,000. That's how bad it is out there. Is it 200 or 400? One of the two. Very
There's
low.
no way it's 200.
It's 400 then. Let's say $500,000. Let's say $500,000.
Huh?
If you have $500,000, you're part of the 1%ers who make $500,000 in the
Well,
country.
that's definitely true, but it's actually,
I don't know. I know it's not $1 million. It's way lower than $1 million.
yeah.
It's like
But
half.
I'm not sure, what's the point?
The point is, what if the United States got into a famine?
Yeah.
Only a 1%er can move and get into a betterness.
Sure.
Now, if that is the case, how many women are going after this guy strategically? And then, if you think about it, how many guys actually cheat on their wives because the other women find gaps and holes in their relationship? And is it common for a rich guy to have a concubine or a sidekick trophy girl?
Yes.
See? This is
A
what I'm
side
saying.
trophy girl is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's common. Right. It's almost like a prerequisite. You can't be my wife unless you understand I'm going to have this.
So it would be just a
I wouldn't
business
say that's all
transaction.
true, but
That's
it
all it
happens.
is.
Okay.
That's all it is. And this is what I'm saying. A
Yeah.
guy works hard, becomes successful, and he knows he's got to get the best woman for what? Reproduction. And especially in this time. So the guy looks at a woman for reproduction, and a woman looks at, okay, if I have a child, you better take care of it, and I want this lifestyle. There is no different in today's time.
So then Boaz would be that guy.
He would be that guy. He's the next guy in line, meaning they were of age. They were of age, meaning together as age, the level of age. Now, let's go to Titus 2, and let's look at this real quick. All right, so verse 3, let's talk about this. The aged woman likewise, that they what?
That they be in behavior as becometh holiness.
Now, the reason it's saying holiness is because this is now transitioning from strategic, get in your face, I'm going to do what I need to do, and then go into this holiness aspect. Because, let's face it, what sells to a guy? He's a visual, right? And so what's the best visual for a guy when it comes to relationships? Sexual looking type woman versus a holy woman. This is why you go to church, you can almost determine who's really at church and who's really coming from the club. All right, go ahead. Holiness.
Not false accusers.
Liars and cheaters.
Not giving too much wine.
Not to say you can't
Wait a
drink.
minute. I don't agree with that.
She loves wine.
That's what I'm saying. It's not saying you can't drink.
It's just saying don't get
Much.
drunk.
Much.
Oh,
that's
Yeah, that
saying.
word much wine. So as long as you
Okay.
can moderate it. Okay. Teacher.
Teacher of good things.
Now, good things is just a fuzzy line. Strategic is good if it's your child, but you know, I'm sorry if it's not. Go ahead. That
they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children.
Because even in today's time, when a woman gets divorced, if she has kids, it is very common for a woman to use those kids as collateral to keep the man away. No, you can't come and visit these kids. No. Because you need to pay me child support, or whatever you call it, whatever you want to call it. See, kids have always been used as collateral or manipulated for a certain purpose.
So we can't do that.
No, you shouldn't do that. But you're going to do that anyway.
You shouldn't.
It's a human nature to do that. You just said your son can't do what stay-at-home dad. He's going to be, right? You're going to make sure he's getting there. And you're going to try very hard until he gets there. All right. And then verse 5, what does it say?
To
Be
be
discreet.
discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their
Own husbands.
that the word of God not be blasphemed.
All right, so now do you see the difference between Titus and why Titus is saying what he said in relations to Naomi? Naomi was ruthless, but Naomi, her whole purpose was the survival of itself.
I don't think ruthless is a word. The word you're looking for is cunning.
A woman might say cunning, a guy will say ruthless. Same thing.
She's
I'm
saying-
okay with
he's
that.
saying- I understand, from the man's perspective, it's called ruthless.
And
It's not
Boaz
seen
knew
way
that this
at
was,
all from
I
my
can imagine how
perspective.
Boaz would felt after he married her and then realized that Naomi tricked him.
Because that's the way
into
the man,
this
that's
thing.
what I mean, that's the way the man feels. He feels like that was ruthless. Because
Yeah.
it's not ruthless.
Yeah, what's ruthless? Because let's put it in today's time. Have we not heard a woman getting pregnant just to keep a man?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, is that not ruthless?
I feel like you need to be ruthless to survive.
And that's all it is. That's all it is. If you're in, listen, if a woman is in and again, we cannot, I'm backing up, we cannot say to a woman or a guy who was born into the environment that we're born. So let's say ghetto. Is it ruthless? Is it cunning? Is it whatever that she doesn't want to be there and she has an opportunity to get out by means of marrying the right type of guy?
No.
Oh. So it's not.
No.
Don't be looking at it, huh?
No, it isn't.
So
Right.
she can bring out herself from that
Right.
place on her
Right.
own.
So if Naomi was poor, and then she just had favor in this rich guy, then she is there. What is she going to pass on? Ruth, who came from an outside source into this family of wealth. She likes her. She loves her. She does everything possible.
No, that's why she says it for strategic and cunning, it's not ruthless.
It is strategic and it is cunning because it's not like, hey Boaz, I want you to meet Ruth. Ruth, meet Boaz. No. It was nothing of that. It was you do this, and capture it and trap him. Trap him. If you make him do this, he's going to do this. That's strategic.
No. That's not ruthless. It's strategic.
Fine, whatever. So the point is, ladies, and I'm talking to the people here, because y'all are married, so we don't do this no more, and kids. If you are unhappy with a guy, and you can teach this to other ladies, single ladies, if you're unhappy, you have to get on that strategic level and leave the emotion behind. Get it out your system. Stop reading those books and listening to those songs. Ain't gonna get you nothing but broke and hurt, because the guy that you're going to strategically get is no good in the first dang place. That's why he was single.